Hey, Brian from SnakeBytes here. I'm at Peter Call Reptiles, the guy that really produced the first piebald ball python. I'm going to show you some really cool pies along with some awesome other ball python morphs. You're watching SnakeBytes. What's so amazing about pieds is the fact that they're so polymorphic. And what I mean by that is that you can have one pied that has 10% white and a sibling can have 90% white, which means that each one is completely unique. Now they're a recessive mutation, which basically just means that if you breed a pied to a pied, you're going to get 100% pieds. But if you breed a pied to a normal, they're all going to be normal in appearance, but they'll all be carrying or heterozygous for the piebalds. What makes this project so amazing is that when Pete Call produced the first pieds, they were the first real big dollar investment animal. Believe it or not, the very first pied sold for $25,000. It really set the stage for the future of investment ball pythons. But hey, Pete doesn't just have normal piebalds, he has a ton of really cool ball pythons. Let's go ahead and take a look at what he's got. How much did Brian pay for his first piebald ball python? A, $10,000, B, $15,000, or C, $25,000? Go ahead and answer in the comments below and check back later in the show to see if you were correct. Each week with our friends over at the Reptile Report, we'll be spotlighting a cool animal forum so that you guys can learn more about it. This week's spotlight is Chameleon Forum. Go ahead and check out the URL right here or click the link in the description. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit you guys with one of the sickest animals I've ever seen right off the bat. This is actually a candy leopard pied. And oh my gosh, this thing is absolutely glowing. I cannot believe that I'm holding this animal in my hands right now. Again, it's a leopard, it's a pied, and it's a candy. Holy cow, that's all I really have to say. I tell you what, looking at pieds never gets old. And this happens to be a pastel orange ghost pied. I tell you what, that's just a gorgeous, gorgeous snake. Again, sometimes these are called pog pieds, which is just, again, a pastel, which is co-dominant, orange ghost, which is recessive, and pied, which is recessive. So again, this is a very difficult animal to get a double recessive and co-dominant attached. Tell you what, that's a lot of work, but that's a beautiful snake. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of holy cow moments, and this happens to be one of them. This is an Enchi candy albino. Holy cow, is this thing beautiful. I just can't believe how that Enchi and candy interact. And then with the albino gene on top of it, this thing is mind-blowing. This is actually a pretty cool animal. I have never seen this. I didn't even know it existed. This is a leopard Enchi lesser. The Enchi lessers are really beautiful animals, and as soon as you add that leopard gene into it, you get the striping and the cool pattern. It's pretty cool. Pete happens to work with a lot of the leopard gene, which is a pattern mutation, and it's also attached to the pied gene, and that's why he has so many of them. This happens to be a really cool animal. It's a leopard pastel ghost. This is a pastel leopard candy. Now the leopard is co-dominant, the pastel is co-dominant, and the candy is recessive. Pete was again the founder of the candy gene, and it's basically an albino type of gene that just turns really purple as it gets aged, as you can see with this animal. Here's an animal that I've always really dreamed about producing one day, and that's a Lavender Pied, or what they call a dreamsicle. It's a tough animal because it's a double recessive mutation, and it takes some time to get, and as they get older, all this color is going to turn really purple, and they're just really amazing as adults. Check this out. Now you guys know that I love cinnamon pastels and those earth tones. This happens to be a cinnamon pastel toffee. Now a toffee is similar to a candy gene in the sense that it's got that high tyrosinase in it, and it also reacts with albino, but when you add it to a cinnamon, you get more melanin, which causes the purple to just really increase. I tell you what, this is one impressive snake. This is a Puma ball python. I've always really liked these guys. Now it's an allelic animal, which basically means when you breed a spark, which is codominant, to a yellow belly, which is codominant, you produce the Pumas. Now if you breed spark to spark, you actually get something that looks similar to Puma, but it's actually a super spark. I mentioned earlier how pieds are extremely polymorphic when it comes to the amount of white in them. Well, there's one exception to that, and that's when you breed a spider to a pied. It's called a spide, and this happens to be a normal spide right here. It's also really interesting that it has all that white right around its lips. Now this happens to be the pastel version, or the bumblebee spide. Again, it's got that solid white animal with just the pastel and spider head. These are pretty cool animals, even if it did try to bite me. When you breed spide to spide, what's amazing is sometimes you get a pied that has absolutely no pattern whatsoever, including on the head. So it's essentially a leucistic ball python, but it still has the black eyes. But that's not to be confused with the black-eyed Lucies that come from super fires. It's a gene all on its own. This guy's kind of interesting. This is a killer bee pied, and I've told you that the spide stuff is always 90% white. Well, this animal actually happens to have a yellow spot on it, which is kind of contrary to the majority of the spide stuff. And again, it's a super pastel spider pied. Again, more pied stuff. This happens to be a leopard enchi pied. So again, the leopard and enchi are codominant and the pied is recessive. And look at the cool pattern down the back. That's a really wicked animal. Going through all these racks, seeing so many amazing animals, still you come across a few things that you find extremely interesting and unexpected. And this happens to be a lesser enchi pied, but that's not what makes it really cool. The fact that it's one eye, it happens to be a ruby colored eye, and the other eye is completely normal. That's what really caught my eye on this one. It's definitely an anomaly I think was really cool. We all know that the champagne gene is kind of an overpowering gene. When you breed it to most mutations, it really just becomes a champagne that's a little bit different, with really one exception, and that's when you breed a champagne to an enchi ball python. All this crazy patterning comes out. There's no doubt that champagne enchis are my favorite of that mutation. Pete has so many incredible ball pythons, but really he's known because of his pied production. And there's so much variety in pies. I want to take some time and just roll through the variety that we're going to see with each piebald ball python. And lastly, I want to show you this banana spinner blast female. I tell you what, I wish I had a female banana spinner blast because I've got some really cool stuff that I'd like to breed it to. As you can see, Pete has an amazing collection of ball pythons. We can't thank him enough for showing us around and letting us show you guys his place. I tell you what, guys, it's about time for me to get back to my own collection.
Everyone loves cartoons, and I happen to really like SpongeBob and Invader Zim, while Brian's more of a Futurama, Family Guy kind of guy. So I want to know, what's your all-time favorite cartoon? Leave a comment below and let us know.
How much did Brian pay for his first piebald ball python? If you answered B, $15,000, you're 100% correct. Good job. So there it is. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We've had an amazing time out here in Maryland. We've seen some incredible animals and had a really great time. If you guys want to follow any of my animal adventures, make sure to hit me up over on Facebook and Twitter at SnakeBytesTV. Till next week, you've been watching Snake Bites. They're a recessive mutation, meaning that when you breed a pied to a pied, you're going to get all pieds. But if you breed a pied to a normal, I did not expect that coming at all. I didn't even see that coming whatsoever.